This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by lynda.com, the unparalleled online video training library. For a free 10-day unlimited trial, visit lynda.com/MacVoices. And by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like MacVoices, MacVoices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for MacVoices Magazine in Flipboard on your iPad or iPhone. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're back after NAB, NMX, and the Super Meet, back to a more normal schedule, if there is such a thing in the tech world. And I'm kind of excited this time to have a couple of new Mac voices. I don't think either one of them have been on the show before, to talk about a couple brand new Mac events, Apple-oriented events, I should say. So we're just going to dive right in. First up, Mr. Barry Fulk, who you may know and or not know. Barry, great to have you, and thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Chuck. Thanks for having me on. Always love your shows when you go travel, NAB. You are the man with the camera and the mic.
Yeah, I have a sad life, Barry.
No, well, we all enjoy each other's community, which is, Chuck, I think I must have met you at Macworld probably, well, maybe even New Media Expo. You've been going to those as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started. In fact, that's kind of probably all of our ties in, and we'll introduce our other guests in just a moment. But I've been going to these shows now for various years, and I love them. I absolutely love the community. So before, I guess, I get too much into the detail, do you want to introduce your other guest?
Definitely, because this is one of those that everybody sort of fits together. Mr. Mike Porter is here. He is he's a podcaster for Mac Eyes Only, but that's not why he's here. Mike, it's good to have you. Thanks for being here.
That's not why I'm here. No, thank you very much. I appreciate being here, Chuck. It's really an honor.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's definitely good to hear you, and of course, I want to make sure that we do promote your podcast because that's important. The website is
for MacEyesOnly.com.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So, having said that, Barry, we're gonna flip back to you because with the hiatus of Macworld, I think all of us have been kind of feeling like, wow, we don't get to see our friends. We're going to miss the annual tribal gathering, if you will. And so you decided to try to put together your own little tribal gathering in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But you talk about how and why.
Yeah, it was a crazy thought that I was kind of bouncing around my head, and I'm like, let's do it. So if I may borrow your arch nemesis Allison Sheridan's phrase, there's a problem to be solved. I really was floored when they put Macworld on hiatus. It was the event every year I would look forward to going to. It was a combination of doing interviews, meeting people, but really just the Apple community there was fantastic. And I'm like, well, I've gotten so much out of it. What can I do to give back? And I'm like, all right, well, I've got a nice backyard here, and I host a couple of barbecues. This is Chicago after all. Why not try something like that and see if I can get people to come in from, maybe a couple local people. I know Mike lives about an hour away from me. So I'm like, all right, but Mike and I can have a barbecue and see if anybody else wants to show up. And I put the word out, and I was immediately floored by the responses I got from Allison, from people out east, from you, Chuck, that were not only expressing interest, but jumping right in. And I will probably give, I think the first person that gave me the firm commitment outside of the Chicago area was Guy Searle from the My Mac podcast. And I'm like, wow. So people are now traveling to come to this barbecue. So that's really kind of how it started. It's June 20th here in the Chicago area, real close to O'Hare. And it's just a very casual event for people who are in the Apple community to come, hang out, enjoy, and have a good time.
So before we get away from this, I want to make sure we do get the specifics. What's it cost? How do you register? What's the cutoff because your backyard has to only be so large?
Well, it is fortunately a decent size. I'm hoping that we get maybe 100 people. That would be great. If we get more, I can handle a little bit more. So it's actually free. I do ask that you register, and the kind of the vetting process is somebody has to know somebody that we all know. And in this community, that's actually pretty easy to do. So if you go to the Midwest Mac BBQ website, which is midwestmacbbq.com, the information is there, and there's a sign-up page. So it'll tell me how many people are coming, and if you can bring something like a dessert or maybe a soft drink or even a special appetizer, great. If not, that's cool too. And that way I can kind of track the number of people. So that's really how it all started. And it's going to start in the afternoon, about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And that was the plan, was to go from there till, late, midnight, 2 a.m., whatever,
Whenever the police shut you down.
Exactly. So, some bail money would be helpful too. And it was doing well. But then Mike really, he took the ball and ran with it. And I give him kudos for that, because it really solidified this becoming not just a barbecue, but an event.
So, Mike, that's your cue.
That's my cue.
You decided to create MacStock in conjunction with the Midwest Mac BBQ.
Yes, I did. Talking about taking the ball and running with it, this is actually, as Barry knows, this is a ball I've been holding on to for a few years now. Barry and I sat down at a Starbucks, ironically. I don't know why we picked that, but we sat down at a Starbucks to talk about an idea about 5 years ago now, of bringing together the community here in the Midwest. And I had actually coined the term MacStock at that time, because I'm out here in Woodstock, Illinois. It seemed like a natural fit. I'm one to really enjoy a good pun, so I went with MacStock. And for whatever reason, Barry and I kind of shelved. Oh, nice cat there. Barry and I kind of shelved the idea for a little bit, but I'm not one to let an idea like this go away. This was just too good of an idea, and I thought that we really had something good going here. So when Barry said, "Hey, Mike, I'm going to be putting together this barbecue," I said, I think this might be our opportunity to revive this other idea, to make it more than just about the barbecue, to make it a day-long event where we have people already coming in. Let's see if they're willing to speak at the event. Let's see who else locally, and I emphasize locally because that was the original idea. Let's see who else locally might want to come and take part in this event. So I started kind of putting the cards together, and what we ended up with is what's going to be a fantastic double header of events on June 20th. MacStock is actually starting at 8 a.m. That's registration on June 20th. The conference itself starts at 9 a.m. And we are just packed full of speakers that everybody knows and loves from throughout the Apple community, including Allison Sheridan, whom you guys mentioned just a little while ago, Julie Keel, who's from the Sci-Fi Tech Talk podcast, and she also has done some writing for mymac.com and also been on their podcast, I believe. Guy Searle, that Barry mentioned, Guy. And as a little surprise, we're going to have Gazmaz in town as well. And folks who listen to my podcast know Gary from having been on the show with me since 2007. So he's really another part of this puzzle that brings it all together, and it really felt complete once I knew he was coming. But we also have someone named Chuck Joyner, who's going to be there with us.
Who's that?
I'm not sure. I'll get to know him though at the event. Tim Robertson of TechFan and Dave Hamilton from the Mac Observer and Mac Geek Gab is going to be there. And of course we have Jean McDonald, formerly of Smile, but also now from App Camp for Girls, and I'm really excited to hear her talk that day. So, it's going to shape up to be just this fantastic event. We're going to be providing lunch. We have all these speaker sessions. We're going to have a one-to-one breakout room running off to the side, and also maybe a little expo area with some vendors and maybe some other surprises too.
Oh, Oh,
So
we like
yeah.
other surprises.
Other surprises are always good. Oh, and of course, everyone gets a T-shirt. You can't have a conference without a T-shirt. So everyone's going to get their MacStock 2015 T-shirt, and I just think it's going to be one fantastic day from the morning all the way through shutting down the barbecue at night.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I found impressive, and I kind of knew this, but it confirmed this, is I've had the opportunity. Chuck, you know me. I've shown up at events unannounced. I like to surprise people. But Mike hasn't had that crazy part of him exposed. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but you haven't actually met Gaz in person, correct?
No, I have not. So here's a man I've known for 9 years, absolutely one of my best friends in the world. Haven't met him in person yet.
And I don't think he's met Guy either. So.
I don't think he has. I am so excited to meet Gary, or Gaz Maz, as everyone else in the world knows him. And I'm beside myself at that opportunity. I think it's going to be fantastic. So, if I can plug it, the website for it is MacStock Conference and Expo.com, or even MacStockExpo.com will get you there. And right now we're running an early bird ticket price throughout the month of May. It's $69 for the day-long event. And in fact, if you don't mind my saying, Chuck, there is a coupon code for MacVoices listeners. It's MacVoices 10 off. So you get $10 off that $69 price if you use that code.
Great, thank you. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think. So how about the capacity here? Same question for you, Mike. Is there a top end limit? I mean, I realize you're not sold out yet, but
no, we're not sold out.
How many can you accommodate, or when would you decide that it really is getting beyond what you can handle?
Well, there is a limit at the conference center itself, and if I can just give them a plug. This is McHenry County College. It's right on the border of Woodstock, Illinois, and Crystal Lake, Illinois. And their conference center is gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Nice big screen, ceiling mounted projector. There's room for 350 people there. I'm capping MacStock at 300. So that's about.
And I'll put 300 people in my backyard if Mike can get 300 people.
That's a deal. So, all right, MacVoices listeners, we want to fill Barry's backyard. So, buy your tickets to MacStock and let's get the cops called on them.
Don't worry, I'm inviting the neighbors, so at least they'll be with me.
That's such an admirable goal, Mike.
Well, I try. I've known Barry for so long. He knows I'm teasing.
Yeah. Barry, he's volunteering your backyard.
I am doing that.
Today's edition of MacVoices is brought to you by lynda.com, the unparalleled online video training library. Get a 10-day unlimited pass to all of their great content by visiting lynda.com/MacVoices. I love having lynda.com as a sponsor of MacVoices because there are few things I enjoy more than learning something new, and that's exactly where lynda.com shines. You can learn all about programs like Excel and Adobe Illustrator. You can learn all about web-based software and services like WordPress, HTML, and CSS. Or you can learn about completely non-tech things like negotiating, management, and finance. Or hardware-oriented courses focusing on 3D printing or the iPhone. That's the great thing about lynda.com. There's something for everyone. Today, just waiting for you. But what about tomorrow? No problem. lynda.com is adding new courses every week at a staggering rate, updating current subjects and expanding into new topics all the time. Go paperless with lynda.com. Learn about body language, or make sense of accounting. With over 3,000 courses in all, I promise you won't be bored. Want to make something happen in your life? Start with a 10-day free trial at lynda.com/MacVoices and sample any of those 3,000 videos to get started. And when I say sample, I mean watch any of the videos the whole way through, start to finish, no restrictions. Watch them on your Mac or your iPhone or your iPad. Whenever you have some time and the urge to learn, lynda.com is right there, waiting for you to up your game. You can help me out by signing up for that free trial at lynda.com/MacVoices. That's lynda.com/MacVoices, so they know you heard about them here. Most important, though, is that you help yourself out by increasing your business, technology, and creative skills with the amazing variety of information lynda.com offers. One more time, that's lynda.com/MacVoices for a free 10-day full unlimited trial. Once you start, you won't want to stop. Thanks to lynda.com for their support of MacVoices. Barry, I want to go back to, before I forget it, you say that, that the Midwest Mac BBQ is not free. Bring some stuff if you can. Is there a way for us to contribute to that?
Yeah.
Because some of us, you don't, I know I'm flying in, so I'm not going to be able to bring anything that anybody would want to eat.
So I have a link if you want to help out in a monetary way. You just shoot me an email. I'm going to set up a GoFundMe page. So certainly that would help offset some of the other costs. I'm not real worried about it. That was never my intent because it is my backyard where Mike obviously has to rent out his space, and that in itself costs money, and then there's related things as well. So if you can, great. If not, please, I still want you to come. I really do want to just give back to the community and just have a good time. You did ask Chuck about when we're going to cut this off. I don't know about Mike. For me, probably about a week before. It'll be the last I'd take any new people just so I can get a head count because I need to order barbecue. Right. And so real quick on that, it is a barbecue. I'm not going to be wearing the apron on this one, though. I will cater it out. There's a couple of good places near here that I really like. So we'll have the typical ribs and burgers and brats, but we'll have vegetarian and other options. And again, if anybody has any special dietary requirements, just let me know.
Got it. Mike, you just named a lot of the people that are speaking. When will you be in a position to issue any kind of conference schedule, or is it just pretty much come and catch as catch can?
There is a schedule for when folks are speaking. The actual topics of each speaker are in the works. So as they complete their topics, I'm going to be posting them to the website as well. But in terms of when they're speaking, that's actually on the website right now. And again, that's MacStock Conference Expo.com, and you can find out all of that. There was something Barry mentioned just a moment ago I wanted to comment on, and I can't for the life of me think of what that was.
Well, we'll be here for a little while.
I apologize. We'll be here for a while, folks.
If it comes back.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, you've set up so that all the speakers have 20-minute slots. So it's going to be one of those that if you aren't interested or don't like what you're hearing, just wait a couple minutes and it'll change to something and someone new.
Right. This is very much a community event. That has been the genesis of the idea from the start. So as a community event, I thought, what other community events are out there that I can kind of model MacStock on? Obviously, Macworld is very, very large. It's not necessarily what you'd call a community event, even though people make it one. But what community events are out there? And I've been looking at things like WordCamps and even TEDx to a certain extent, because TEDx events are community events. And then open camps are another model I've been kind of looking at. And that 18, 20-minute time speaking slot seemed to be about the right fit for something like this. And so that's where I picked that time slot from. Now, we do have one speaker who's going to be longer, 40 minutes. And
brace yourself, Chuck.
Yeah. Well, this was by special request. She asked if she could have a longer time slot, and that speaker is Allison Sheridan, of course.
Yeah, that somehow figures.
Yeah. So you got like a room that Chuck can go into and soundproofed and.
Absolutely. I didn't even mention this. There's going to be another breakout room that I'm tentatively considering it to be the green room, if you will, and that's going to be available for anyone, any of the podcasters who are speaking, any of the podcasters who are in attendance, because we do have some podcasters coming in from out of town who are not necessarily speaking, and they'll be able to use that room for anything that they would like to. If they want to do some live podcasting from the event, interviews, what have you, that room is available just for that purpose. So I imagine anyone who wants to wander in there and kind of be a fly on the wall as these things are being recorded is going to certainly be welcome as well. So perhaps that would work for your soundproof room, Chuck.
It's such a low hanging fruit. I'm not going to go there. No, it sounds the whole thing. It sounds like just an amazing day, and one that so many of us are hungering for. With the hiatus of Macworld.
Yeah.
What is it about this community, guys? Now, ask you both, and then you can answer as you wish. That we thrive off of each other. It really is a big family. A lot of communities say that, but this one truly is, because that's the reason that a lot of us went to San Francisco. Barry, I think you said, the interviews, the conferences, all fantastic, and absolutely a big reason that we went. But I think we would go even without that, as long as someone could organize a specific time and place just to get together, trade ideas, trade stories, and have fun. Why? What is it about this?
It is a unique environment. And my own personal story is when I switched over from Windows and I needed basically help getting up to speed on the Mac. And one of the first things I did was to look at podcasts. I'd already listened to a few not related to Apple. And so I just went to iTunes at that time and I started doing a search. And the first two I found, of course, Adam Christensen, who's the granddaddy of podcasters in the Apple community. But then I found Mike Potter's for Mac Guys Only. And it was so heartwarming to find these podcasts that were helpful, good information, presented in a friendly manner. But I was like, I had some certain questions and I reached out, and I would say every single podcast I ever reached out to the actual podcaster responded to immediately. And it wasn't like they had themselves up on a pedestal. It was like, sure, how can I help? And Mike and I, certainly talked back and forth to the point where with New Media Expo, he's like, hey, I hear you're going out there. Would you be interested in doing some recordings for me? And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. So it's Mike's fault that I got into this whole business.
I take the blame.
Yeah. But it's that sense of helping people out. It's the sense of we just want to hang out together. We're all on the same level. And it's just a lot of fun. You don't feel any weird expectations. I mean, and Chuck, at Macworld's a great example, right? People will just say, hey, I'm going to the Chieftain tonight. Anybody want to join us? And just a bunch of people do. It's really casual. If you show up, great. If you don't, great. Adam always brings some special card game to play. And then we end up with about a dozen of us in a hotel room being silly. But you know what? It's stuff like that makes the experience and makes memories that really drive me to want to do as much of this as possible.
Wow. You just said a mouthful in that last phrase, as much as possible. You hit it. I think that's why a lot of us ended up gravitating this year back to NMX, New Media Expo in Las Vegas, that maybe they decided, well, since there's no Macworld, we'll go and try this. Because I know that Dave Hamilton's going to be there. I know that Don McAllister's going to be there. And then this came up, and it's just one more great excuse to get everybody together in one place. And it's not just Mac podcasters. There are plenty of people I know that are coming that aren't necessarily podcasters, but they're part of this community and just going to get together and have fun.
And it's just the willingness to help out. I've received a good dozen emails from people who I've maybe heard their name in a peripheral. They're just listeners to our podcast. And the first question is, how can I help? I mean, I'm not asking for them to do anything. They're like, I've got someone who wants to do some DJing. I have someone else that will help with transportation back and forth. And I'm like, you're so touched by the willingness, the giving of this community that I just don't feel exists. Certainly not in other platforms out there.
Yeah. And Mike, you really did take the bull by the horns. This is something that a lot of us, when Macworld went on hiatus, there was a lot of talk, and it was just talk on most of our parts about, wouldn't it be great if? But nobody wanted to take on the challenge of doing it, because putting on any conference, 100 to 300 people, that's a big deal, and you decided to go for it.
Yeah, I'm finding that out. It's it is. What did I say to Gary this morning in an email? I said, I'm starting to realize that maybe this was a little bit more than one person should have taken on by himself. But going back to the community question, this is a theme that runs throughout my podcast and has run throughout my podcast for many, many years, and it's going to continue to run throughout my podcast. Barry talked about sending emails in and getting answers to questions. I spend a lot of my time every week just answering questions from listeners to the podcast, not because I feel like I have to, it's because I really want to. I've developed some strong friendships with people, including a listener, Lisa, that I mentioned earlier, what should I say? I've never met them. They've just become really, really good friends. And the second I see their name pop up in my email, I want to jump in and immediately find out what it is they're asking, what it is they're telling me, what it is they're sharing about their Mac experience, and sometimes even their experiences outside of the Mac and Apple universe, if you will. And it is because we have just become all part of this family. And so it's a very important theme to me. And so I felt like I really wanted to do something. When I heard about the barbecue, I said, this is our opportunity to do something new. And it's maybe a lot to take on, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time. And like Barry, I'm just so touched by the outpouring of support for the event that even if 10 people showed up, I think it would be an unqualified success.
No, I agree completely. And it's the fact that so many people are willing to come here. And I know you've mentioned Don McAllister. So you've got two people from the UK, I believe.
Don McAllister, he's coming in. Oh, my goodness.
Ewan Rankin, I believe, is coming in. Some of these people are even trying to make this a bigger trip because they're not only coming for our events, but they're going to WWDC. And in many cases, they didn't even know if they were getting tickets, but they would do the Alt Conference or something else. And I believe Ewan and Martin are going to, and Martin's from the Netherlands.
Right.
I believe they're going to be taking Route 66 from California to Illinois. I mean, what a grand adventure they're going to have. And then Chicago in itself is, I would say, is one of the best cities in the U.S. Great places, great things to do, all these wonderful museums. You've got the lakefront, you've got Michigan Avenue, restaurants up and down. So I'm encouraging people to come in a few days early. Yeah, enjoy Chicago. We've got a room block set up near O'Hare Airport. People have been asking me where they can stay downtown, so I've been giving them some suggestions. Airbnb is an option people are using. Mike, I know people are leveraging our two locations and staying right in the middle to make it easy for them.
Right in the middle. Yeah, absolutely. So, I have some folks coming up from central Illinois who are excited by the idea that Woodstock is where Groundhog Day was filmed. Mm-hmm. By the way, Woodstock plays that up every year. But they found out that this is where, or I guess they knew, this is where Groundhog Day was filmed. And they're really excited to come in and see all the locations. And they can even stop by my office and pick up a map of the locations because I have them right in the office. Not too far, in fact, kind of right in between where we are, Barry, there's the Volo Auto Museum. If you want to see famous cars from throughout movie and television history, check out the original Batmobile. Check out the Back to the Future car I think they have there, the Ghostbusters car. They have all these cars there at the Volo Auto Museum, which is probably one of the, sleeper museums in the area. Folks know about it, but they don't really know about it, So that's something exciting to check out. I know someone's coming in and they just want to see all the, what was it that they wanted to see? The Frank Lloyd Wright houses. Mm-hmm. They're going to take a tour of all the different Frank Lloyd Wright houses because this is where he lived and worked. Chester Gould worked out of Woodstock, the creator of Dick Tracy. All kinds of really exciting, interesting things that you can learn about this area just by visiting. And then, of course, if you want something that's just pure fun, Six Flags Great America right up the road. Yep. So there's all kinds of really fun stuff to do in the area. And I think folks who come in for more than just the day are going to find that they're going to need to come back again to do it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to that point, there's two things I'll add is that the original McDonald's is only a couple of miles. The original
McDonald's, that's right. Yeah.
But we do hope this is a success because I think Mike and I have both talked, how can we make this sustainable? That we can do this over and over again, whether it's every year, every 2 years. We don't know. We'll see how it goes this year. We are learning as we're doing this. But in that respect, it has been, in my case, and I'm sure Mike would agree, it's been a sheer joy doing all this work.
Absolutely. I'm just thrilled to be able to do it. I mean, if you think about, I have not had the opportunity, and I'll openly admit this, I've not had the opportunity to go to Macworld, to go to some of these larger conferences. I did used to go to Comdex when it was held in Chicago. I did used to go to Windows World when it was in Chicago. Some of these other conferences, but they're not really community conferences. They are for the business person. They're for the person who wants to get in and talk to these vendors because they want to deploy their solutions to their customers. It's not really for the end user. Whereas something like Macworld, something like the WordCamp, something like MacStock, is really more about the community than it is about the commercial side of things. But if you think about how we socialize with the people we know, it's through these little Gorilla Glass enforced screens in front of us. we don't have the opportunity to meet these people that we know so well, Gazmaz being an excellent example, face to face, right? So that's what MacStock is about. That's what the Midwest Mac BBQ is about. And I'm just so excited. I'm so happy that we could do this, and I'm myself really looking forward to the opportunity to shake your hand, Chuck. I've shaken Barry's hand, but to shake your hand, Chuck, I want to shake your hand because I've never met you in person. And I'm really excited about that. And seeing Allison and Don and everyone else who's coming, everyone else I've mentioned and everyone I haven't mentioned, I want to shake everyone's hand for coming and, showing their support for something like this and for the barbecue.
Barry, when Mike said Dick Tracy, I think we missed our cue to hold up our watches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're sorry. I think you both deserve congratulations on a number of different levels. First, obviously, for putting on these events, but almost more importantly, for then not seeing them as competing events, but making them complementary. And, not trying to step on each other's toes, no competition here, putting them together and giving everyone even more of a reason to come.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Mike has always been a huge supporter of everything I've done. He invites me to the show. We've done some great video broadcasts together. Yep. Hopefully some of the value I've brought with my remote man on the road type podcasts. But, and that's it. We saw that this was an opportunity to leverage each other and make it, truly stronger than just in each individual event. So the only sad thing for me is I won't actually be at MacStock because I got to be prepping. So I told Mike he's got to plan it better next year so I can attend.
Who picked Father's Day weekend, Barry? Come on. I'm telling you.
That was based upon my travel schedule. So,
all right.
Well, and I likewise, I'm going to be late to the barbecue because I have to pack up MacStock, right? So that's the one downfall of doing it all in one day, that we can't necessarily take full advantage of each other's events. But I guarantee I'm already thinking about MacStock 2016. I'm already taking notes on it. I already know what needs to be done differently. And I already know what I would just like to do differently, if that makes sense. I think one of those things is a 2-day event. And I think one of those things is maybe having multiple tracks so that someone like you, Chuck, who's going to be speaking for 20 minutes, well, maybe you have an idea for 2 or 3 different talks, and you would slot in really nicely in that second track that maybe is just only advanced topics, and maybe we have one that's only beginner topics. So I'm already thinking toward MacStock 2016, but as Barry said, let's get through this one first.
Yeah, one step at a time. Again, I'm not sure who to address this to, so I'll throw it out. How about the logistics? I know, Barry, you said that some people are staying, halfway in between, and I certainly don't know the geography of the area. So how much distance between them? What kind of travel or transportation options are there? I know, again, Barry, I think you mentioned a room block. What's the accommodation situation?
So originally when I was starting this off, I figured, well, let me talk to some of the hotels around here, see if I can lock in a good rate, something that's close by the airport. So there's a Hilton Garden Inn only a couple of miles between the airport, a couple of miles to where I live. So it worked out really well. They've been very helpful. They gave me a good price. And they have a shuttle. So people who are actually flying in, they don't even need to rent a car, depending upon how they want to do this, right? So they could get the shuttle to the hotel, and then we have people willing to shuttle from the hotel to the barbecue. Now with Mike's event being about, I would say, Mike, about an hour 5 from where I'm at.
Yeah, it's 30 miles. It's actually 30 miles, and it's about an hour with suburban traffic. So the good news is that it's almost a straight shot. Route 14, Highway 14 in Crystal Lake, and just a little off Highway 14 out by you, right?
Yep. Exactly. So you could go that way. There's highways. You can go that way.
Yep. You can take the interstate. There's lots of different ways to do it. I am speaking with a transportation company who is offering a special flat rate on sedans and minivans if anyone wants to get together and kind of pool their resources, if you will, and take a It's actually Route 47 Taxi Transportation. Excellent company, awesome drivers. I see them on the road every day. I know they're very conscientious drivers, and he's a good friend of mine too. So they're talking about giving a flat rate of well, we're working out the details on that, but it's going to be from the MacStock Conference out to the barbecue, and then of course back from the barbecue into McHenry County if that's where you're staying. And of course they are looking at the possibility of picking up people from their hotels out in Des Plaines where Barry is and bringing them out to MacStock. But in addition to that, there's public transportation. The Union Pacific Northwest line, which is Chicago's Metra public transportation, actually runs from Des Plaines to Woodstock. And you can, from there, I'm sure, take Pace buses either from Crystal Lake or Woodstock over to the conference. And I happen to know that I didn't get a block of rooms there, but the Comfort Inn in Crystal Lake actually offers shuttle service from their hotel to MCC. So there's that opportunity as well. As I get some of this stuff worked out, some of the details worked out, they're going to go to the MacStock Conference and Expo website. So,
got it.
Doesn't fully answer your question, but I specifically am working on it. In fact, I was on a few phone calls today to try to iron out some of those details.
But and both our sites have contact us type links.
Yeah.
The hotel block I think is only through May 19th. So if there are people that are kind of on the fence about booking, I would encourage you to do it earlier rather than later. But being close to O'Hare, and there's conventions and all sorts of good stuff. I mean, there's plenty of hotel rooms, and if you want to scale up or down, you can certainly do that. And if people have questions about it, Martin asked me, he found 3 locations in Chicago through Airbnb. He's like, well, what do you think about these neighborhoods? And he picked some really cool, trendy areas that is near public transportation, because he's going to spend, I think, almost a week here. And he wants to go downtown Chicago. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to be close to all the buses and trains. Great locations. So again, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you find a good spot.
Yeah, I mentioned, I'm sorry, Chuck, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but I mentioned Metra, and all of their lines terminate in Chicago. So if you are staying in the city, you can get over to the Northwest line and take that line, Union Pacific Northwest. I used to take this every day for 10 years, I know. Take it all the way out from the city to Des Plaines and then on to Crystal Lake and or Woodstock, depending on where you want to get off. And there's lots of fantastic stops in between. So, if you are staying in the city, that would be a really good and safe way to travel.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I wanted to make sure we got through some of the logistics, because if people have not been to Chicago before or don't know the area, that can always be a little intimidating. And it sounds like, Chicago is a hub, I think, for United, at least. I'm not
Correct.
sure.
And American.
Yeah. And American. Okay. So it's going to be pretty easy to get there, folks. And these two gentlemen have made it even easier for you to come and attend both events. They've got the transportation things worked out. Obviously, they're going to be, if you pick one of the designated hotels, especially, you're going to fall in with the MacStock Midwest Mac BBQ crowd. So nobody's going to get left behind. So come to Chicago; it's going to be a blast.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to it.
It really is.
Yeah. No. Again, the response has been overwhelming, and I'm sure I'm going to miss a bunch of people. But both Allison, of course, but Steve Sheridan's coming as well. John F. Braun's coming. I know a couple of people who are on the East Coast. They're really desperately trying to get out here. I know Ken Ray wants to get out here, Mike LaPlante, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of other people. But I've been trying to get people listed on the website so some people can see some of the other people attending, because that's half the fun, is just to hang out. As you both know, I travel a ton, which is one of the reasons I do get to hang out with some of you. That when I travel to certain cities, I'm like, I wonder who's in the area. In fact, one person, I was in Nashville in April, and I knew George lived somewhere in that general area, and it turned out he was only about an hour away. So he's like, hey, let's meet halfway. And you know what? It's one of the examples of the community. I know George is into security. I used to run security operations for a company I worked for. And, we started talking, we started talking security. Well, boy, 4 or 5 hours later, where they're just jammering away, and they're all looking at us going, what are these two talking about? And
that
we
sounds
couldn't
like
have
a
had
typical
better
for
time.
Mac Guy's Only recording session too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, and again, I know George is going to try to make it, and I understand between Father's Day and some other, other events and work commitments, it's not always possible. But, even the people that are interested in coming, their enthusiasm has been off the charts.
Everyone who signs up is on the MacStock website as well. So if you go under the Buy Your Ticket section, there's a list of attendees, and you can see who's coming to MacStock. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and I had to write it down so I don't forget here, because I really wanted to make sure I mentioned this. Again, the original idea was this be a local event. But again, being about community, I wanted to make sure to reach out to some of the local Apple user groups. Mm-hmm. So 2 who are on board, and at least some of their members are planning on coming, are the Chicagoland Northwest of Us user group, and also Milwaukee's DoubleClick. So both of these user groups are from the immediate area. I know for a fact Northwest of Us is going to have a table there. If anybody is interested in finding out more about their user group, these groups are always looking for new members. They're always looking for new ways to network and build their own communities within our greater community. So do be sure to, if you see someone who has a Northwest of Us tag on or a DoubleClick tag and you want to find out more about their user group because you're in the area, by all means, talk them up, because I'm sure they'll be happy to at least, get you to a meeting or two.
That's it. Just as you've developed this, you've kind of reached out to all the logical players, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot more than just a local thing. Obviously, the people coming from the UK, it's already gone, way beyond that. So
yeah, in the 2 weeks it's been up, the website's been up since April 20th. In the 2 weeks it's been up, it quickly went from a local event until about 3 days later to a coast-to-coast event, until 4 days later, an international event. So yeah, I'm just thrilled. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, I just, again, I want to encourage everyone, please check out both websites, and we'll go give those again in a second. But if you can get to Chicago, this is going to be a whole lot of fun, and it's not often you get to be there at the first of anything. And I have a feeling this is going to be the first of these 2, maybe combined, in the future, or who knows what. But it's going to be the first. And Chicago is a place that a lot of us have talked about as a place that might make a lot of sense. And now these 2 gentlemen are making it happen. So, guys, thank you very much. Really, congratulations. Even though we haven't done it yet, congratulations.
Thanks, Chuck.
It's just taking a shot at it.
Truly my pleasure. This is going to be it's going to be my pleasure to host this. Let's just put it that way.
It is. Yeah. And as Mike was saying, even if nobody else showed up other than who's already confirmed, it will be a resounding success, and it'll be
resounding
a blast.
Success. Absolutely.
And it's just it only can go from here. And Chuck, thank you so much for giving us time and exposure and for coming. I'm touched when you first reached out to me and said, "Hey, tell me a little bit more about this," and we talked, and your enthusiasm was off the charts, just like ours are.
Yeah, it's, you get this group together, and it's hard not to.
Yeah, that's true.
So, okay, so Barry, one more time, the Midwest Mac BBQ website is.
It is Midwest Mac BBQ.com. And again, it's linked from Mike's, and Mike's links from mine. So if you find one but not the other, you'll figure it out.
Great. And you will have a GoFundMe campaign up sometime soon for those
I will be encouraged to do that very quickly, won't I?
Good. Well, I hope so. Because, again, flying in, the airlines don't do a good job of preserving things.
No, they don't. But just as a frame of reference, if you look at the site and its location just shows O'Hare, obviously I'm preventing people who's trying to spam me or whatever. I just want the really core audience there. So I'll put that out there. I am contacting everybody individually, but I'm only a couple of miles away. It is really easy to get around this whole area, and it's a blast. And from if you look at where downtown Chicago is and where Mike is, I'm right in the middle. So hopefully it works out for everybody.
Yeah. Great. And Mike, the website for MacStock is?
The website for MacStock is MacStock Conference Expo.com. Or if you prefer something shorter, MacStockExpo.com will get you there too. And again, I wanted to put the offer out there. If you use the coupon code MacVoices 10 off, all one word, it's not case sensitive, you get $10 off our early bird pricing, which runs through the end of May.
Great.
Yep.
How are you going to beat that, folks? So,
Can't.
Barry, Mike, I'll see you in Chicago in June. And
Great.
Folks, we hope to see you in Chicago in June as well. We're going to have a blast.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Chuck. I appreciate it.
Truly my pleasure, guys. Truly my pleasure. So, folks, again, we'll see you in Chicago in June for MacStock and the Midwest Mac BBQ, and we'll see you right back here on MacVoices real soon. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the MacVoices blog. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at MacVoices.com/newsletter. Do more with your Apple tech by subscribing to the free MacVoices magazine on Flipboard by visiting MacVoices.com/magazine. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.